To go straight to the merchandise site, go to store.robkellum.com for all the latest Maestro Rob Kellum merch. But thank you guys as always for your support. And without further ado, let's bring on our special guest for the evening. The one, the only, the voice, Lieutenant Dan. Lieutenant
Hey,
Dan, how you doing, brother?
what's
Great
cracking,
day.
Papa Stro? It's about time that the voice
It's
has
about
landed here
time.
on WCW Retro.
Yes, yes, yes. It's a long time coming, man. Great to have you on the show.
I much appreciate the invitation, Papa Stro. The pleasure's all mine.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Oh man, I've been a fan of yours for a while now, and it's really great to have you on the show and to give our listeners some insight on about you and what you've been up to and what all you got going on. I mean, man, you got so many talents. I mean, gosh, you're like a promoter, an owner, a gamer, a manager. Man, what doesn't the Lieutenant Dan the Voice brand do?
Let's just say that I'm equivalent to a Swiss Army knife, Papa Stro, in more ways than one. But I appreciate the kind sentiments by you saying that you're a big fan of the voice, Lieutenant Dan. Means a lot to me. I mean, I can remember, not too long ago when I was watching Rob Kellum on my screen in the late 1990s. Uh, WCW Saturday Night comes to mind, and then here we are now. Shooting it up as the universe has us doing. That's great.
Doesn't the universe have a strange way of making things happen like that? It's just,
Hmm.
yeah.
Absolutely,
Oh man,
absolutely.
I preached this so many times that I really truly feel deep down that the universe, everything that we around, we're all connected, we're all intertwined in some way,
Absolutely.
shape, or fashion.
I can go on all night as far as testimonials, just on the idea of the stars aligning, if you will, right?
Hmm.
But I mean, why delve on that? Why we're experiencing that tonight here on WCW Retro on the VOC network. That's what it's all about.
Oh man, it's great to have you. Oh gosh, man.
So
So I
just
mean,
yeah, like you mentioned earlier, a little start of me. Well, I mean, I guess we can kind of go back to we're talking about wrestling, right? I was first introduced to wrestling, professional wrestling, around when I was 4 years old, and this was around the time when Closed Circuit was around, and my exposure to the first WrestleMania, and Hulkster being the number one for me at the time. I was
oh
immediately,
yeah,
and I remember, of course, those days growing up. I mean, I always look fondly back to the '80s, Papa Stro, because there's just so much good memories and just good things I can literally list,
yeah.
on a laundry list that
What
was great.
amazing time that was. Oh man.
Yeah, yeah, and so many special moments and so many things. And I can talk about the movies, the music, the cartoons that I grew up with, the wrestling that was around at the time,
Oh man.
just the environment altogether. So kind of fast forward, as any wrestling fan would going forward, I got older, um, priorities would tend to change. But one thing that always stuck with me was professional wrestling. Good through good things and bad times, right? I
Right.
remember, I remember going into like 20 years old into 21 years old. True story. I had like a near death experience with what the doctors prescribed as an Epstein Barr virus, which, long story
Oh
short,
wow.
incapacitated me completely, Papa Stroke, to the extent of motor skills, having to ride again, walk again, that type of thing.
Oh bless you.
Point being
Bless
is
you.
that even I remember the first day or first night in the hospital. It was on a Monday, because I remember, like, as much as I was incapacitated, I was like, okay, before I go to sleep, you turn on that TV and put on Monday Night Raw or Nitro at the time, because that's what was my comfort zone, right? And I could go on all the days as far as wrestling being, there during the good times and bad times, right?
Right.
Uh, so when I got into the business, I broke in around 21 years old, and it's a true story. I was working at a phone store at the mall here locally in Laredo, And one of my buddies he had mentioned to me, "Hey, did you know that they have lucha libre practice in town?" Which was totally new to me. As much as lucha libre fan as I would just go across the border and enjoy the matches, right? But
Hmm.
I had no idea that there was actual training going on there in my backyard. I was like, "Shit, let's uh,
Right.
let's let's check it out," right? And I was all gung ho about it. Mind you, Papa Straw at the time, full of blood, piss, and vinegar. I thought I could take
Oh
on the
yeah.
world, right? I was
Oh, I'm
bodybuilding at the time too.
I know that feeling, brother. I know.
You're
We've been
right.
there. We've been
Uh,
there.
right. And I remember the first day of tryout training, my original trainer was the late great Martin Pedraza, right? God rest his
Oh,
soul.
nice, nice.
He had allowed me into his yard because that's where everything was set up, right?
Hmm.
And long story short, when I went through the drills and everything, I got my ass handed to me quick and got
Uh,
humbled very, very quickly that
I'm,
day.
I- I'm with you there too, bro.
Y- You know,
Memories.
uh, I remember losing my lunch during all
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
I was chopped down literally, from head to toe. And
Mm.
I remember after everything was said and done that night, when I came home to my apartment and some of my buddies were there hanging out playing PlayStation. And I'll never forget. I got there with my gym bag. I was wearing a white beater shirt and my gym pants. And as soon as I walked in, I dropped my gym bag and I literally collapsed right in the rug on my living room floor with the burn marks there. Next thing you know, hours later when I woke up, everything was off. I didn't know what had happened, but that
Yeah.
was but that was my first day, first introduction and breaking into the business. I stuck
Mm.
with it for a little bit. I dare say about 6 months.
Right.
Some of my matches were always in Nuevo Laredo, which is across the border in Mexico, where I'm at. Um, but I mean, that's as far as I took it at that point, right? When we talk about promoting and all that, that didn't come until like around 2010 ish,
Hmm.
past that time period. But yeah, man, I mean, going into the Lions Den, if you will, that day, that night, I'll never forget it. And everything kind of changed. Well, actually, everything did change,
Right.
perspective wise. Understanding. This is this is as real gets per se, right?
Right.
Uh, and having a lot more respect for the business after that too.
So, I mean, gosh, you had the luxury of not only learning the American style, but the lucha libre style all at the same time, man. So
Yeah,
that's pretty wild. What a crash course in breaking into business.
bro. Yeah, talk about breaking. They broke me in so many pieces. That
Yeah.
that ring was so unforgiving.
Oh yes.
The wood was about that thick. Rotted. I'd say. It seems better days, right? Layer of carpet about that much, and then the ropes were so tight, Papa Stro, like it was literally like a
Oh.
cable. It was a
Oh
cable.
man.
It was a cable wrapped in like some type of rubber material, right? But every time you'd
Oh
hit
my.
that rope, like it would literally hurt every time.
Oh my gosh. I believe it. I got to tell you a quick story, funny story.
Mm-hmm.
Went my first tour in Mexico for AAA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jake Roberts, good friend of mine from years. He warned me about how stiff the rings were in Mexico, right? And I thought, well, rings a ring, right? Whatever. So I'm in the ring with Connect, Emil Mascaras' old tag team partner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he gives me a slam, and oh my god, oh man, it just knocked the wind right out of me, right? And I'm looking over at Jake in the corner, right? I was tagging with, right? And he's like laughing, looking at me. He's like, "I told you, right?" And I went to Connect and I said, "Hey, amigo, slam me in the floor." He's like, "Okay, why?" He said, "Because it feels better."
Yeah.
He starts laughing. Oh my god! But yeah,
And you're talking about a concrete floor outside,
yes, yes.
there's no mats out there, so I totally feel you, bro. Yep,
Oh, good
that's
times, man.
funny. Good times, man. Yeah. So yeah, man. That's a little bit of as far as breaking into the business, right? But the way I got sucked back into the business, kind of fast forwarding the clock to around 2010, and you'll hear his name come up a little frequently because we have our destinies intertwined, if you will, right?
Okay.
and that person is one of my best friends, my little brother. I call him Ray, Ace Chavarria, who is the owner of Ace's Boots.
Okay. All right.
Um, he's been my partner in crime for the longest time, and when I got reacquainted with him around that time of 2010, that's when he took the risk of creating, well, I dare say, Laredo, Texas, first official successful independent wrestling promotion,
Mm,
which is known as the Laredo Wrestling Alliance.
okay.
First show that he did, and I was there as a spectator, was at the National Guard Armory here in Laredo, and the head count was around 450, being that
Mm.
it was the first show, and the headliner at the time was Chavo Guerrero Sr.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was around, and I think they had brought in also Bushwhacker Luke,
Okay.
and eventually Honky Tonk as well. And by the time I got involved as a promoter, was a couple of years into it. I was between other priority school work and all that good stuff. But as I became a little bit more involved behind the scenes, the character, the moniker, the voice came into play again with my friend Ace telling me, "Hey, let's give you a frontman position, right? In this case,
Mm,
the ring announcer position for the shows, and we'll call you the voice." And I went, "Well, what else should I call myself, right?" And
right.
immediately he just thought of he immediately thought of Forrest Gump. He said, "We'll just call you Lieutenant Dan with legs, right? We're not going to say just leg,
Okay.
And then the moniker kind of just rolled off the tongue after that. The voice, Lieutenant Dan, right? And
Nice.
where the voice comes from is, you know, it's just basically my voice just cranked up all the way.
Hmm.
Inflection, tone, impact, right? Energy, that type of thing. Something that I like to think kind of separates, you know, the man Dan Martinez versus the persona, the voice, Lieutenant Dan,
Right.
right? Um, so as a frontman, that's kind of where the character started. Not just being a run of the mill ring announcer. There was a lot more, to my persona, if you will, more personality. Um, when I became more involved as far as managing talent, which is a very good story in itself, right? We have a faction in Texas, in South Texas, that was known as the Texas Renegades, right?
Mhm.
It was comprised of, at the time, Bandana Joe, who he's his real name is Alvaro Riojas, who does Spanish play-by-play with AEW. You'll see him
Okay.
every week on Wednesdays. So we had him, Bandana Joe, Tovin, Sean Jones, JC Valentine, and myself. Um, you just take a look at the picture of us, and then you can just see it's money, right? Everybody
Oh,
has
man.
a very good look, and very good look as far as our faction is concerned, right? So we had a pretty good run back in those early 2000 days, right? Early 2010 days, where like um, we were very very busy as far as the work, the bookings, uh, at the time, and established our characters and then some, right? When as time progressed, life changes. Everybody, even including myself, had different life priorities. When the group really couldn't continue the way we were before, I basically rebranded the group, which is known as Renegade USA today, which is comprised of a who's who, such as Jay Alexander, right, who you've seen on Reality of Wrestling.
Hmm.
We have Killer Cash, who's one of the, as who he calls himself, one of the most dangerous men in professional wrestling as far as death matches are concerned in Texas, right? He calls himself Death Match Andre for a reason. James Blackheart, who is also one of my guys from South Texas, who has also done his share work in Ring of Honor and AEW as well. Zeke Rose, who just came back from injury, from an Achilles heel injury, was out for a while, so he's doing some good waves, literally retro waves out there in the Central Texas area. I can shout out all my boys. Lawrence, Lawrence Mateo, big part of the group too. The Bad Boys of Wrestling, which is Rodzilla and Cool Daddy Denzel, one of the better.
Hmm.
one of the better up and coming tag teams in Texas. Those guys, JJ LeVay and Tony Strong, another veteran tag team that's also part of the group. Where let's say I'm not as active anymore today, Papa Stro, in terms of mileage, I would like to call it, but all my boys are busy, and
Right.
that's that's a reflection of me and the brand itself, right? One of our many brands, and it makes me happy just to see that in itself. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I mean that's what our business is all about. Honestly, I mean we're taught from an early age to come out of matches and shows better than we were before, and the fact that you've helped all these guys uh, get to where they're at and had a
Mhm.
hand your hand in helping them be where they're at today. I mean that's a huge honor.
I wouldn't have it any other way. And a lot of my influences in terms of doing business the right way, if you will, right? Not just portraying a character. Gary Hart comes to mind.
Oh,
You
Gary
know,
Hart. Oh
uh,
man,
JJ Dillon also. And I'm talking about is in terms of
JJ.
managing, their bookings per se, getting
Hmm.
them, their hotel rooms,
Yes.
lodging, transportation. Usually, if I'm behind the wheel, we're in my car, right, or my vehicle. But that's a lot of my work that involve my string of talent, my bench, if you will, right? Uh, because that's the only way to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because outside of that, Papa Stroll, from my professional careers, right, my day jobs, like I've always invested in talent at the end of the day, right?
Hmm.
And I've been doing that for the longest time, outside of wrestling just as well too, you know. And that's something that when I invest in talent, you have to have something that I see in you. Item one and item two, you have to have something that I think I can get a return of investment, because I have to get a return of investment, right? As far as the
Right.
the effort and time that I put in, the
Hmm.
resources involved, right?
Hmm.
But it's not to me. It's not measured in like in monetary sense, Papa Stroh. To me, it can be as simple as a thank you. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that goes a long way.
It really does, and I really think that gets lost in translation nowadays with today's generation. And that when we were coming up in the business, I mean, attitude was everything, and the way we carried ourselves and the professionalism that we conducted and everything. I mean, that went a long way,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the fact that we had to protect our business because that was our investment. That was our way of life. That's how we
Correct.
made money and fed our families. So
Mm-hmm. That's
I
right.
mean, it's that's very having good morale and showing respect for one another
Mm-hmm.
is very important.
Same thing, from a promoter point of view, right? You know, I learned very quickly in the beginning, as an observer, watching my friend book his shows with LWA in the beginning, the different types of personalities that are involved as far as talent, right? And that
Hmm.
and that goes with any kind of workplace. But at the end of the day, as soon as I took the reins over, took the book over, um, the environment that we create backstage should not only translate even well, let's say on the front end, but should be amplified, right?
Right.
So if the environment and the culture, you know, is positive, right, harmonious, check the drama at the door type of thing, right?
Hmm.
And then everything usually runs smoothly at that point, right? And that is very important to me. I don't care. You can be the most talented person in the world, but if you come into my house with a bad attitude, you're going to be quickly promoted to customer, very very quickly.
Absolutely.
So then that's the way I roll, Papa Stroll, to this day.
Oh, oh, that's the way to go. I mean, our fans come to see us because it's an escape from their
Mhm.
drama and their everyday life. And we're the storytellers. We tell the stories in the ring and what we do in the events. And in order to tell proper stories, we have to escape our drama to tell those stories for the fans that are looking for an escape They're looking for that entertainment. They're looking to vicariously live through our personas and the story that we're telling.
And to your point, once all those cylinders start moving, right, and the gears start clicking, everything starts working. There's nothing better than that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
There's no rush like any other in the world, honestly.
yeah, and usually, when it comes down to, those moments in time where like just everything doesn't really matter for a moment, like you said, for that brief period of time, if we can, you know, take a break from reality for a second and just live in the moment and enjoy the show, you can't really put a price tag on that.
No, you really can't. It's intangible. I mean, the power that like emotional connection you can have with the fans. It's. I mean, emotion has been such a powerful tool since the beginning of time, and it always will be. And when it's utilized in our business, I mean, it's like creating magic.
And I respect all kinds of performers too, Papa Show. Lately, myself, I've been, um, I've been visiting more comedy shows as of late. For several reasons. One, who doesn't like to have laughs? Number one.
Right.
I've always truly believed that laughter is one of many of the best forms of remedies, right? To soothe the soul.
Yes, it's healing.
It's very healing, and lately some of the scene has been kind of picking up here in town, and I have most of the people that run those type of shows. I am friends with them too, and I'm kind of seeing, kind of giving them some guidance too from a different perspective, right? As far as promoting. But at the end of the day, it's still like to support talent, right? And just have a good time. And it's the same idea, that escape from reality. And lately, I've been having some fun with that. Wrestling wise, I haven't been as busy this year, Papa Strobe. I've kind of pumped the brakes a little bit for other numerous reasons, right? Life priorities, if you will. I have, dabbled in here and there, some help with some of the local wrestling promotions here. It's kind of hard not to, right?
Oh
But
yeah.
just to stay connected, that type of thing. But um, this year has provided a lot of different interesting challenges and journeys where it's still very reassuring to see, like I said, a lot of the talent that let's say we've invested in. I say we as a team, right? That we've invested in, you know, starting to show those true realistic results of you know, like I said, return of investment, right? And
Right.
Papa Stroll, the one person that really truly comes to mind that is a prime example of that, right? And you've seen her on Monday nights with the Judgment Day. But I would just want to give a shout out to Roxanne Perez, who is the LWA alumni. She started her day one, chapter one, page one career in wrestling with us. Her first wrestling match with us. I can go on and on as far as her journey, but that's her story to tell. But that's another example of talent that we uh, invested in, and that she is our homegrown prodigy, literally, right?
Yes.
That is, hadn't even broken the glass ceiling yet in terms of her, as far as her
It,
WWE career is concerned. So
it's
wait and
it's
see what
amazing,
happens.
amazing how far she has come. It's just
Mhm.
amazing.
Yep, absolutely. So the moral of the story is, you know, when you invest in talent and when you see the fruits of the labor and the return of investment is just seeing them succeed, again, I can never put a price tag on that. It's no different than, being a proud coach, if you will, right? Just seeing your
Right.
your, your players succeed. So, um,
Because
and
you live
in
in
any walks of life.
vicariously. You
Yeah.
live in vicariously to their success and their happiness.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it sure is, and I've been doing that again all my life as far as, helping people, right? Where I feel like it's, worth the time and investment. And you know, I don't ever see myself not doing it. It's just a part of my DNA.
Right. So I know you mentioned a little, touched on a little bit earlier, but what has been some of your proudest moments so far in your career that you can recall?
Okay, well, let's see the proudest moments in my career, wrestling wise. Okay, there's a couple. I'll quickly name the top five.
Okay.
Uh, I'd say the number one, and this is really, really, very proud moment. I would say where this my city of Laredo, they reached out to me wanting Lieutenant Dan and some of my talent to participate in a concert that was going to take place at our arena, at the same auto arena, which is catered to all the sixth graders in town. It was basically a big field trip, and the crowd was about 6 to 7,000 kids in the arena. And the idea was basically say no to drugs concert, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was some music, some bands that were playing there. Wild Man Mark Merrow was there too. Where that's when I met him. He did a whole segment, to the arena as far as um, his guest speaking right segment. And then when it came to us, I mean, it's still out there, Papa Stro. If you would actually go to my Twitter profile, you'll see it pinned. You'll see the entire video where you'll see Lieutenant Dan and Jay Alexander and some of my other wrestlers. Not only did we take the stage, but you see Jay Alexander being escorted down the floor of the arena, flanked by some of the top deputies from Laredo, Texas. Right, he was coming down with his championship belts, and he was given literally a champion's introduction. It was incredible.
Oh, wow.
And since it was all kids, they were going ballistic just because of him. And by the time he reached the stage and we started doing, our segment, it was a proud moment for me because one, being considered, to do an event like that, with that type of crowd, right? That type of meaning, all members of law enforcement were there in the building, top city officials. And we did a little skit at the very end where two wrestlers, including Jay Alexander, had a little bit of a disagreement, and all of a sudden, I had to call a no disqualification match right then and there on stage, which turned out to be pretty neat. But the idea of performing, but also giving a positive message, right, to the masses, right, to our kids, of not to do drugs, stay on the straight and narrow, and just be good altogether. That's definitely one of my proudest moments, and I know for a fact, for a reason why that happened is because of wrestling,
Right.
Our contributions and then some. So that's a big one because that was a massive audience for my community, right, and really put a lot of eyes on the product, and of course ourselves as individuals, right. And then apart from that, actually inside the ring, there's another moment one time in Austin, Texas. I was working for AAW Pro. Danny Daniels had booked me a couple of times out there when they were running in Austin. They're from Chicago. And on one of the shows where I was scheduled to host, that's when I first met Maxwell Jacob Friedman for the first time.
Okay.
And this was before the AEW days, if you will, or a little bit right before, like a year or two before that. So not only did I met him for the first time, but I learned the hard way how much of a nuclear heat magnet that he is, because as soon as he came out, when I introduced him, he was coming down the aisle. As soon as he stepped inside the ring, I say we, between me, him, and the referee, we were bombarded by I don't know, I dare say hundreds of toilet paper rolls just being thrown in the ring, mostly aiming for MJF, but on camera it was quite the visual.
Oh, man.
So being caught in the crossfire during that moment was pretty cool.
I can only imagine. He's got a gift.
I learned the hard way, like I said before. All the work that was yet to come after that from him, right? So
Right.
that was kind of cool. Um, let's see, another good moment I like to say is um, just one time we were doing a show. It was a busy weekend. I had a whole entire weekend where on a Friday I had to be in College Station for Lions Pride Sports, and then Saturday back in town for LWA, and then Sunday we used to book shows on occasion in New Braunfels for Blockbuster Wrestling. So I had to do a show over there that weekend, right?
Hmm.
So Friday when we wrapped up over there, the headliners was Rikishi, Chris Masters, Brian Cage, Alexander Hammerstone, just to name a few, right? So on the way back from College Station to Laredo, I was bringing back both Brian Cage and and Chris Masters, and at the time I
Mm.
was driving a Mazda 3 hatchback. There's no way I could fit both of those guys in my car, so I just took Chris Masters with me, and I put Brian Cage into Alex Garcia's car, and she was only a 2-seater.
Oh man.
so so here's the thing on that show, Papa Stro, the one that we're doing in Laredo. That was the first and only time that we ran an 8-hour event that started around 2 o'clock and ended around 10. It was an 8-hour wrestling event that involved a who's who as promotions from Texas and schools. And, I must have counted 500, maybe 600 people. It was a very, very hot day that day, too. We were running out of a warehouse at the time. But the fact that we pulled it off, it was an 8-hour event with around 32 matches on paper. And I was on maybe 2 or 3 hours sleep at best
Oh man.
that day. Uh, so I was proud of that, and then the fact that we still had to run on Sunday over there in New Braunfels with Brian Cage and Chris Masters. One of the longest weekends I remember experiencing as far as independent wrestling, but it was still a success.
Oh man.
Will I ever do it again? Absolutely not. Like,
I don't blame you.
I feel like that took like years off of my lifespan.
I believe it.
So that was kind of cool.
Oh man.
And then another proud moment, Papa Stroh, was WrestleMania. I want to say it was 38, right? Was the last one that was in Dallas, right?
Hmm.
Bucket list goal of mine that I was fortunate to accomplish was um, I was able to do a show out there in Arlington. I had partnered up with Lou Gotti,
Okay.
and shout out to Lou Gotti, right? And EFW All Pro. I was able to schedule an LWA event out there that weekend. It was on night 2 of WrestleMania, which is Sunday, and the slot was around 6 p.m. I was given about maybe 2.5 hours, right?
Hmm.
And it was great. Had a good turnout. Started on time, ended on time. Everybody was taken care of. Shout out to Rodney Mack. He was a big part of that show, and his Dog Pound Championship Wrestling students. Um, we had Stud Stash there also. I remember that was one of his first times that he was scheduled to work and wrestle against Rodney Mack. And my main event for that show was the Pillars of Destiny, which was Hunter Gray and Paul Titan, Parvis, versus the Bad Boys of Wrestling, Rodzilla and Cool Daddy Denzel,
Hmm.
versus Zane Valero and Shimbashi, the triple
Hmm.
threat tag team. But the idea was the fact that I was able to do a wrestling show in at the time when Vince McMahon was around his backyard, if you will, successful. And a true tidbit of that show, Papa Stro, is I chose not to film it. The title of that show was literally called That One Night. And if you weren't there that one night, you missed a hell of a night, right?
Huh.
And that was the also the debut of the Texas Terminator Jay Alexander into LWA and becoming the newly crowned and still crowned the LWA Legacy Champion.
Oh wow.
He wrestled against Vinny Pacifico that night.
Mm.
And those are just a couple of those proud moments, if you will. And of course, the last one I can think of more recently is just the opportunity to work with the NWA Texas team. Uh, you may have seen, I had a little bit of reps out there in your neck of the woods, Papa Stro.
Oh yes.
And I'm referring to Texas style wrestling. Lieutenant Dan at first, was in the manager role where I managed a couple of my boys, which was James Blackheart and Jay Alexander. And I was there for about a little over a year or so doing some work, and then took a little bit of a break from there. And then when I returned, I was there as a ring announcer for their televised program, which is also another honor and blessing to be a part of that too. Um, Again, I had to pump the brakes a little bit, winding up and closing out last year, Papa Stroll, coming into January of this year. But, as they say, sometimes, you got to rest, recharge, recover, rebuild, everything it takes to um, basically just to help your mental health and your well-being altogether. Right. But
Right.
at the same time, even as much as the little bit of a break that I've taken, the perception still from the public is that I'm still very much active, which is interesting to kind of see that from their perspective. Um,
Oh,
and you mentioned earlier, as far as being a gamer and I've recently started streaming when it comes to games, but I've always also had a passion when it relates to retro gaming, and I have a massive collection as it relates to retro gaming. And um, one of my buddies recently said, "Hey, Lieutenant, why don't you do something not only that you love to do, but maybe in the near future get paid to do it?" Right?
mm,
Honestly, I don't know a whole lot about content creation. I'm slowly still learning it now. I know there's a lot of work involved when it comes to that, and consistency is key too. But I'm having fun with it. I'm having fun with it.
that's great.
It's
So
still
what are some of your favorite games you like to play?
good question. One of the games that recently Papa Stroll that I've been hooked on, and you know, you may laugh at this, but I've been fascinated with the game called American Truck Simulator.
Oh wow.
In,
Okay.
in layman's terms, it's basically the experience of being a truck driver,
All right.
and it's very realistic. I would never do it in real life because there's a lot more risk involved
Yeah.
and then some. But what introduced me to that game one time, I was watching a random video on one of my social feeds, and I could obviously tell it was a driving game of sorts. I wasn't sure what kind it was, but what really truly got my attention about it was the maps.
Hmm.
And I saw this cat playing the game, and I recognized immediately that he was driving through downtown San Antonio.
Mm.
I was like, I've never seen that in the game before. Like, what game is that? I literally could recognize where he was at playing the game, and it really caught my attention. And I was like, once I found out what it was, I was like, I really wanted to try it out, right?
Yeah.
And when I fired it up and I downloaded it, the fact that I was able to drive around my hometown, to a certain extent, blew
Hmm.
my mind, Papa Stroll, right?
Yeah. I'll bet.
And I've been playing it a lot lately because it's just, I don't know, it's just cool. Like, you know, yeah, I mean, it's just being a trucker. Like, you go pick up the load that you need to pick up, and then from point A to point B. But it's just something about it. It's just cool. It's peaceful. It's literally almost like being on the road,
Right.
but a little bit safer. And I think it's safer. What I mean by that, I don't condone drinking and driving, but it's a lot safer if you were to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to check that game out sometime.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I recently got introduced to it. And outside of that, Papa Stro, lately I've been more playing, like I said, retro games. Like, I do have my PlayStation 5, and
Hmm.
Pro, the most expensive model, if you will. But lately, outside of the last game that I was really into, which is Resident Evil Requiem, I'm a big fan of that Resident Evil series. Um, I just kept coming back to what I call the museum. Papa Show is basically it's a program that's called Launchbox that and that essentially arranges your entire uh, media library, in this case of games, right? Software, and also the emulators that you would say would use for those games. It manages all of that. So it's basically a one-stop shop
Mm.
program that I use for that, right? And I go back to it because I in my entire collection, Papa Stro, you're looking at about close to 38,000 games minimum.
Wow.
There's no way in hell I could ever play every game in that collection.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I have that many days left at all either, if you think about it. But like, but my point is like, there's no shortage of content, to create in terms of that. And what's really neat to me is a lot of those emulators now that I've been experimenting with is a lot of your old games. What's old is new again,
Hmm.
and what I mean by that is, if you crank up, let's say, the graphics settings on a particular emulator and you fire up that game, you know, let's say the emulator would be, Nintendo GameCube, or let's say PlayStation 2, right? Crank up the graphics to the highest settings, if you will, and play that on your TV. Like, the graphics and the game, the experience is totally night and day versus when you would experience it, let's say, on its original console and its original, output resolution settings, if you will, right?
Right.
Um, Totally different experience, and it really, like, it enhances, the experience of playing the game. So when I, let's say, randomly choose a game that I've never played before with the graphics cranked up, I'm gonna get the ultimate experience of that game nowadays, right? With those settings, right?
Hmm.
It's really, really cool. And you know a lot of the stuff that was made before in terms of software games in general, regardless of what kind of genre it is, there is just so much gold out there, like treasure. You know what I mean? Like, so
Hmm.
much good quality stuff out there that, when I well, talk to gamers and be like, why are you playing that old stuff for? Right? Like, that's where the good stuff is at. You know what I mean?
Right.
The
Yeah.
best stuff. So, nothing against what's out today, right? But I mean, for example, if I go back to the PlayStation 2 days, that's the one console that had the most, for example, Grand Theft Auto titles out of
Hmm.
anything.
Wow.
As one example, right?
Hmm.
Uh, so it's always fun to go back to the old things, if you will.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Is there any goals that you're currently striving for?
Yeah, absolutely. Goals. Number one, I've always wanted to have. Who doesn't want peace, prosperity in their life with their family, right? Obviously,
Right.
that's a given. But as far as goals in wrestling is concerned, I mean, you know, I've done TV, right? And what's I guess the next step would be, um, wherever the Lord would like to take me, right?
Hmm.
But I also do understand and accept the fact that as far as wrestling is concerned, it is and always will be a young man's game.
Hmm.
And as far as I'm concerned, just throwing it out there, I'm almost close to 50,
Mm.
so I'm not getting any younger, Papa Stro, right?
Oh,
But if, as far as goals are concerned, if I had the opportunity to, host any type of show that people feel that I'm worthy enough, for my services, I mean, that in itself is already a blessing, as it is, right? Um,
absolutely. As you should.
yeah, yeah. And then and of course, from a wrestling standpoint, I will always advocate for my boys, right, my girls. I will always be the frontline cheerleader, for their success. And a goal of mine will always be, that person that you know not only gave another person an opportunity, but, like, gave somebody that actually cared, right? And there's
Right.
not many people out there that are like that. And then, of course, last but not least, starting this whole gaming content creation, you know, like you said, a measurable goal in this case. Well, it's always good to start off with a subscriber count. Number one, I last time I checked out, I believe I was at 58 subscribers on the channel. So I like to shoot for that hundo first, and then we go
Hmm.
for our next stretch goal. But to do the ultimate goal is obviously to be, not only successful but to be, prosperous for doing something that you love, right? And
Right.
I think if I were to sum it up, that would be my ultimate goal. I would love to be taken care of by doing the things that I love to do. And it all starts with an idea. It all starts with a vision, right? And a
Hmm.
plan. So, usually what's gotten me this far, Papa Stro, is I leave everything in God's hands. So
That's it.
that's all I can do, right?
No, that's it. Amen to that.
Right on.
Um, if do you have any upcoming appearances or projects you're working on that you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of projects are concerned, you'll definitely see me on the channels of Lieutenant Dan Plays Retro Games. A lot more. You'll see definitely a lot of streaming activity there, so you can catch me on the regular. So I've done about 3 or 4 streams up to this point. So it's still a project that it's still in its infancy, but I do want to invest a little bit more time into that as far as content creation is concerned. And as far as appearances, locally, you can catch me at the next Amazing Pro Wrestling show. There's going to be 2 shows coming up. One of them, I don't remember the exact date off the top of my head, sometime in September, where they'll be hosting an all-female show. And then, of course, the anniversary show is on October 30th, entitled Amazing Mania, where you'll also see the voice Lieutenant Dan in action there in some capacity. Here in Laredo, Texas, is known as the Gateway City. In terms of being on the road, there hasn't been any particular plans as of yet. Like I said, I've been preoccupied with other life priorities here, but so far, I've been in touch with the boys. Like I mentioned earlier, Rodney Mack's a very good friend of mine too. So uh, one thing it hasn't been fully announced yet or formally announced, so I don't want to be that one to announce it, but I can I can let the public know if you're in the Gateway City or in, let's say, South Texas area. The one thing I can only tell you is that I don't remember the last time that the National Wrestling Alliance was in my backyard.
Mm.
But stay tuned for fourth quarter this year.
Oh,
I've said
that's
too
a,
much.
oh man, that's
I've said too
exciting.
much.
What a teaser that was. That was great.
I said too much. I think I'm already. I think I'm already hearing the fire alarms go off already. Wait a minute.
Oh well, that's really cool. That's really cool. Oh man. So where can people keep in touch with you and what's going on with you?
That's a great question. So you guys can follow me on social media at Lieutenant Dan the Voice. That's LT Dan the Voice. You can catch me on Facebook, on Instagram too, both LT Dan the Voice and LT Dan the Voice Plays Retro Games. Like I mentioned, we have our entire network as far as the retro games channel that you can catch on Twitch. We have our YouTube channel out there as well, and you can follow us on TikTok at Lieutenant Dan Plays Retro Games. Again, it's a brand new channel, brand new startup, but you got to start somewhere, just like anything. But the whole idea is, coming over. Let's play some games. Let's have some laughs. Let's have some fun. Let's reminisce the good old days, if you will, right? Not just limited to games, of course. You can always talk wrestling and then some. Um, so that's definitely one of my top projects right now, Papa Stro, as far as the content creation. Um, Next year, I'm not entirely sure yet, Papa Stro, what's on deck, but like I said earlier, I usually leave fate and everything in God's hands. So I'm sure this will be the first of many opportunities that we can come aboard here, right, and chat it up on WCW Retro
Oh,
on
absolutely.
on the VOC network. So more to come.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, thank you for being here. It's been such a pleasure having you on, brother. And, please stop back by anytime you want, and please give everyone your way my sincere best. And I really hope to bump into you soon.
Likewise, Papa Stro, and thank you very much for inviting me once again. It was an absolute honor once again. VOC Nation, being around as long as you guys have since once again 2010, around the same time that we started up here in LWA. I mean, what a great story, and thanks again for the kind sentiments and all the good stuff, brother. It means a lot.
Oh, thank you so much. And God bless you and your family. And thank you, everyone that's watched tonight. What a great show this has been. We'll see you guys next Thursday in WCW Retro. Until then, guys, have a wonderful weekend. God bless you all. And thank you again, Lieutenant Dan. You're awesome.
Thanks
God
again,
bless you,
Papa
brother.
Stro. Take care.
Oh, you
Till
too.
next
Take care,
time.
guys.